Really excited to be having this conversation today with the amazing Vanessa. I will first start off by introducing myself. My name is Amir Rasul. I'm the founder and CEO of the Folklore, the operator of which owns the Folklore Connect, B2B wholesale e-commerce platform for brands to better manage and scale their wholesale business and retailers to discover and shop these fantastic brands. So I am here today with Vanessa Bellan, I'm pronouncing that right, Bellan, who is the founder and creative director of jewelry label V.BELLAN. So would love, Vanessa, to just for you to start off by sharing more about yourself, your brand and your story so far. And then we'll jump into your wholesale experience.
Okay, well, good morning again, everyone coming in. It's so exciting to be here. So a little bit about me. I actually come from a jewelry production background. Prior to launching my brand, I worked for jewelry designers and manufacturing companies in their production department. So what led to the launch of V.BELLAN was actually the passing of my daughter, who passed away in 2019. Sorry. And so during my depression, with my daughter's passing, I left my job, I quit everything, and I just started to design pieces and to try to get creative to help me, get out of bed, to help me through that time in my life. And I created pendants for my husband and I with her initials on them. And I created a ring with initials with my husband's initials and my initials on them. And it was just to solidify where we were in that time. And I also started to design fashion pieces that I envisioned that my baby girl would want to steal from me as she journeyed through life. And on what would have been her first birthday, I launched the website with personalized jewelry and fashion jewelry, and it was all in my baby girl's honor.
That's so beautiful. And this was in what year was this?
2020, October of 2020.
Gotcha. And then what did you do in the jewelry space before you launched your own label?
So I worked for various different designers, one being Jennifer Fisher. I just worked in production. So just helping build the collections, working with the artisans in New York City to just source material, making sure orders are being fulfilled on time, being filled correctly. And I just did that for 10 years with various different companies.
Gotcha. And what would you say are kind of like the most valuable lessons that you took from first working at a jewelry label before you set out to launch your own?
So luckily, each designer that I worked for and company that I worked for were startups. So even though I worked in production, I literally saw everything from start to finish. So I think that was very valuable, when it came to launching mine, because I understand what goes into creating a product, having it being made, going through the sample process, and going through the actual finished products, then collections, then processing orders, getting photos of the images. So literally A through Z. So I think that definitely helped me in this process.
Okay. Well, I know we're here to talk about wholesale, so we're going to get into that because you've had a very great year of wholesale. I
It's
think
been so amazing. I feel it doesn't even still seem real. I'm just like, oh my God. But
it's happening. I know, like I think you joined us the first month that the Folklore Connect launched. So that was September 2022. And since then, it's just Bergdorf's, it's Shopbop, it's Revolve, it's just so many great retailers. And so would love to just talk about what went into building those wholesale relationships and building such a strong wholesale business so early into the brand story. So First question being, can you just share specific strategies that you employed to make your brand memorable and compelling to buyers during those buying appointments? But actually, hold on, before we get into that, let's kind of just talk about like what 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 inspired you to branch out into wholesale? Because originally you were just direct to consumer, and then what was the approach to get there before even being even starting to create that story, etc.
So I mean, I started off with just on, our website, and after a couple of years, I was trying to find ways to just spread, the brand awareness and to try to reach new customers. And I was just honestly praying to figure out how to do that and which avenue. And I felt because I was so new, it's probably not even going to happen for me until years and years and years down the line. And I was just praying and trying to figure out how to do this. And honestly, like a week later, you guys sent, like, somehow I received an email from the folklore, and I was like, God. And then so, I had a meeting with you, and I just fell in love with, your mission and what you were about. And I took the leap, and I had my first market with you guys in February.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember not too many people when they join the platform are like, okay, I'm going to get on the paid plan. I want to get the opportunities that the paid plan has. But you were really betting on yourself in that moment, like you didn't have any wholesale, relationships before. We were a brand new platform. So who knew we were going to actually deliver? So I think that's a testament to like you really believing in your ability in the brand.
Yes, 100%. And honestly, at that time, as a lot of entrepreneurs on the call, you have your good months, you have your slow months. And the time that I decided after our meeting to move forward with the folklore, I had just enough for that tier. And I was like, bye, we're going to do it. And the rest is history. So it was really one of the best decisions I made.
Love that. Okay. And so can you just talk a little bit about like your first market appointment? When did that happen? How did that happen?
Yeah, so well, the first market ever I had was with you guys. And it was February of this year in New York City at the Shopify location. And so that was the first experience. And I was nervous. I didn't think anybody would be interested. And I just shared, our story and what we're about, what we're looking to do. And through those short, meetings, I had the opportunity to follow up with some of the retailers, and I was able to secure placement.
Okay. And so, you did our showroom in New York. And when you were preparing, what were those strategies that you really employed to make the brand memorable? Like when you were having those buying appointments, what is it that wanted to really convey to them that you think really stuck?
Yeah, so what I did to prepare is definitely, how you'll hear in school having your elevator pitch. So I made sure that, because I knew I only had a short amount of time, that I wanted to convey our brand story and our brand DNA and what we're about and what our values are and what we're looking to do, and definitely researched all of the buyers that I knew that were coming and which retail stores that they worked with. So I was able to speak to, their audience. And also, V.BELLAN, our products were made with the intent of being with you every step of the way. So that's your everyday moments and that's your special occasions. So I made sure to speak on how, when you purchase Vanessa V.BELLAN, you're purchasing, this purchase is staying with you, and it's not just, you wear it one time. You can wear these earrings or these rings or these bracelets or these necklaces with you every single day, or save them for a special occasion. So I just made sure to do research. I made sure that I knew what I wanted to say in that short amount of time, and to also speak to the connection that how, our products can live on their spaces and how it intertwines with what they're already doing.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Like you learning and catering your pitch to the specific retailers that you were talking about. And were there any, I know something that people tend to do, which retailers like, is like sharing where you would live in their store. Like if there's similar types of brands, is that something that you also conveyed in your pitch?
Um, that I haven't, they actually haven't asked me that, but I already had in mind. So that goes with the research. So, I knew if, for instance, with Revolve and how, they help you get ready. So I made sure to speak to that and the types of jewelry brands that they already have to just show them how we align, but also how we're different and how
Mhm.
they're missing what we have.
Yeah. Yes, I think that that's really important as well with like knowing what type of brands they carry because
Mhm.
you might not be going after the right retailer if you see that, the brands that they carry already don't really align with, what your brand, what your brand represents and the
Right.
types of products that you carry. Okay. And so were you asked any challenging questions during those buying appointments?
Um, No, most of the questions, because they only have that short amount of time, it's really who are you, what are you selling, and what are your plans? So, obviously your brand story. I talked about my why, and I just went through the collections quickly, but made sure that, for instance, with BG, I know that they mostly purchase fine jewelry. So I started with my fine collection because I have two categories. So it's just knowing which angles to start with and just going from there.
And what are the things that are like you have to know when a buyer is there that like this is a question that they can ask or like you just volunteer that information up front when it comes to showing the product?
Oh, well, they definitely ask, for your price points. They ask about materials, and they ask about, the turnaround time. How long is the production time? Where are things made? And those are usually the questions. And then obviously if there's a follow-up, making sure that you have your line sheet, because sometimes they want to just take a quick peek because you might not have every single style there, but just being prepared and just giving them enough information that they want to have a follow-up. And then then we have more conversation, then they ask deeper questions, and they get a little bit more into what you're doing, what you're offering, what it looks, what your vision is, what your storytelling is, and then you know goes from there.
And what do you convey to retailers about your customer? Because I know that is something that a lot of retailers want to know because in addition to, them opening you up to, new customers, they're hoping that your current customers will now start also coming to them to shop. And so they want to be able to make sure that there's an alignment there. So what do you talk about in who your customer is?
So with that question, our V.BELLAN's customers are, millennials, and I just speak to that. But one interesting thing is, I would say for BG, they're known for buying like estate jewelry and very expensive jewelry, and luckily for us, they had a whole new buying team, and they were looking to cater to the millennials and the younger crowd, to you know for those wanting to purchase some luxury pieces or accessible price point pieces. And just having the conversation, it opened up an opportunity. So I would say when you're speaking about your customers, also speak about where you see your customer going, because V.BELLAN is really with you every step of the way. And, we want to continue to move into the fine jewelry. So it's a bit expensive. So just showing how you can get a lot of use from this. And from that, retailers can see if you fit with them, or they can think of, hey, maybe we should think about going in this direction, or finding ways for you to fit, because maybe, the company is going through changes, and maybe the company is thinking about, hey, I think we should go this route, but we don't know how to do it. And just a conversation with you could be the catalyst to help open up a new sector for yourself and for the company.
For sure. Yeah, you gotta I always say closed mouths don't get fed. So you gotta
You got to
be able
show
to
your
work it out.
shot.
I was like, oh, you don't need that? Well, we could do it this way.
Right.
I got something for that too. Uh, okay. And so just like wrapping up, that first market appointment, what would you say would be those three major tips that you would give a brand in preparing for the first market appointment?
Definitely making sure that you have your sales materials. So, your line sheets, all of your products, or not, if not all, make sure you have enough of the collection to convey your story and what you're trying to do. Definitely retailer research and your buyer research, and also practicing your elevator pitch and knowing what you want to say about your brand. Talk about your brand story, and just keeping it short but memorable, so they want to follow up with you to learn more, and then at that time you can share as much as you want.
Okay. And speaking of the follow-up, what did you what was the timeline of follow-up after you met with the retailer? What type of materials did you send? Just take me through that.
Yeah, so with the follow-up for some of the retailers that I'm with, after the folklore market, you all send the line sheets to the buyers, and then from there we're connected through email, and it's just following up, seeing if we can set up time to discuss. Sometimes it's going over the collections again and having that one-on-one appointment, and maybe keeping in mind, because sometimes you do get feedback during those short market appointments, and they can say, hey, this is great. I know we have a missing, we need more earrings. So then, during that follow-up appointment, you're going to lead with the earrings. You're going to show more earrings that maybe you didn't have, at the market appointment. And it's just showing them what you have to offer, and then it's starting that conversation. But for the different retailers, the timeframes were different. The quickest actually was with BG, after we had the initial market. Oh, and one thing, sorry. During market, the person that I met with at BG wasn't even my category buyer, but they, connected with me. And so they mentioned that they would pass on my information to the jewelry buyer, and they actually did follow up, and that happened. So I say to say, sometimes you might not meet with your specific category buyer, but make sure you're just sharing your story, make sure you're still giving that pitch to no matter who it is, because all buyers work together. They all know each other within the company, so they share information. But back to the timeline, they all had different timelines. So it went from a 3 weeks process of meeting, going over quantities, numbers, placing order, and some took several months back and forth conversation.
Okay. And so right now we're looking at the process of signing up for Connect, doing our first market in February. That's when the first retailer you launched with being Bergdorf's. That's when
first was Revolve.
Oh, first was Revolve. Okay, but the first, who placed the order first, I guess?
Revolve placed the order
Okay.
first, and then it was BG, but BG did everything was quicker with
Gotcha.
BG,
Mhm.
and then it was Shopbop.
Okay, and so Revolve and Bergdorf's are all relationships that you established at the showroom.
Correct.
Okay, and then you sent those follow-ups with your line sheets. And then did you end up having, for those two brands and retailers in particular, did you have follow-up meetings, or was it kind of all through email after that?
I did have follow-up meetings with both. So
Okay.
with Revolve, I had a Zoom call and walked the buyer through the collection, and talked about what they were missing, and things like that. And with BG, since their offices are in New York City, I actually had a follow-up meeting at their office.
Okay. So that's good to note that, it's not just gonna be a one meeting and then, oh, now I've sold it. Bergdorf and Revolve. It's a process.
Yes.
Okay. And then what are some questions that you ask buyers that helps you with you know, being able to better, manage the relationship, either before they buy and even after?
So during the initial conversations, I make sure to ask them, what is missing with, their lines, or what works well for them. So this way I know how to lead the conversation. So I always ask those questions like, what category are you looking to buy into? What is really working for you guys? What are you looking to maybe introduce? And then that's when I know how to navigate the conversation. And once you already have that partnership, I follow up through email. It's different with the different stores. So for instance, with Bergdorf's, I'm in store and online. So I make sure to see if, hey, can I come in? Can I host a PK with, the sales associates, just to make sure that they understand.
And what's a PK, just for people who
Oh,
don't
sorry,
know?
PK is a product knowledge. So it's getting the opportunity to go to the store before it opens and talk to the sales associates, and making sure that people that are selling your product understand the material, understand the the production process, and just everything that goes into it, so they can get excited about the brand and they know how to answer the questions that the customers may have.
Mhm.
And it gives you face time with them, and puts a face to the brand, and it gives you an opportunity to connect with your buyer. And it's just making sure that you're also asking for your selling reports, and just making sure that you're staying on top of what's selling, what's not working. So you're constantly keeping that line of communication open, but obviously, you don't want to bombard them. Give it some time. I usually reach out maybe like once a month. And if I see something is selling, looking for opportunities for a reorder, or if something's not working, maybe suggesting something else that you see is working for, your D2C or another retailer, or if you just happen to have, new product that they haven't seen that might work. So it's just definitely keeping that line of communication open, because they work with so many other brands. So you want them to continue to invest in your business, and, and build that relationship.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the most important things is that communication. And, there may be, some styles that aren't selling well. So oh, what about this style? Like do a style swap. Like, because the main thing is, they're gonna order from you if continue to order from you if they're gonna sell well. So it's
Right.
really a partnership about you all working together to figure out what's gonna be the products that sell really well. So I think that, definitely post-launch, reaching out every month that's something that has really worked well for you. Um, and so just in terms of like your assortment and, how that may have differed from what you were doing for direct to consumer, like when you decided to get into wholesale, what changes, if any, did you make when it comes to like your production costs? Did you have to adjust like your retail prices in order for you to, have the margins that you needed with your wholesale business?
Yes. So once I decided to, start those partnerships, I had to adjust my retail. And, I made a mistake early on, and I just, one, I didn't price things correctly, and the folklore helped with that afterwards. So I didn't price things correctly. So, I wasn't really ready for wholesale with numbers wise. But going through the process and understanding how it works, I definitely had to adjust my retail. So I'm making sure that you're marking things up, you're factoring in information that you should have. So for instance, I was basing my prices off of my cost, but I wasn't factoring in packaging, I wasn't factoring labor, I wasn't factoring all of those things that you should be. So it's just keeping that in mind. So when you are going with your retail partners, that you're still making sure that you are making something at the end of the day.
Gotcha. So basically, you ended up having to base everything off of your wholesale price rather than your retail
Right.
price.
Right.
Okay, and so the things that went into that you had to consider with creating your wholesale price was the actual production, um, shipping, you also added that in as well, correct?
Yeah, so it's how, how much does it take to create this item and to ship it?
Gotcha.
Not just how much is it, you know, what's the price for just making it. So you have to factor in everything that goes to getting this one item out of the door. So
Mhm,
that's
including
a learning
packaging.
experience that I had to do. Yes.
And so, and then on top of that, then you add the margin that you want to see.
Yes.
Okay. And what's like a
And
typical,
also making sure that you do research to make sure that you are also pricing your product how with what's fair and what you think it should be, and also just doing market research to make sure that you're also aligned with what's out there, and especially with the retailers that you're going, and making sure your price points match, because you don't want to offer product that don't meet the requirements or the price points that those retailers sell.
okay. Yeah, so that making sure that you're priced according to the market, because you might want to price it at $500 because you want to make X amount of margin, but it's about will it sell at that? Will people see the value
Right.
there?
Right.
Gotcha. Um, okay, and then I'm gonna just ask a few more questions before we turn it over and answer some questions from the audience. Can you just talk about some insights in the negotiation process with retailers? So like terms, pricing, any concessions, like what are those conversations like when it comes time to them wanting to place an order and you guys getting to the finish line?
Yeah, so those conversations so far with me have happened before they even place the PO, because they want to make sure we agree on the terms before we even think about, quantities or things like that. So each retailer that I'm partnered with actually have their own stipulations, but it's just making sure that, you know, it's fair for both sides. And so there was some negotiations that I've had to do in terms of margins, and also payment terms to keep in mind. And to also, there was the fee that I didn't really think of before, but it makes sense. So a lot of retailers throw in a marketing coup percentage. So that's also an additional, deduction that they would take from the wholesale cost. So
And
it
what
just
is
keeps
that? If you could explain what.
so what that is an additional discount that they use for marketing initiatives, so ads. So for instance, Revolve does a lot of ads, and they do a lot of partnership things. So it's just they take the percentage in order to include you in those initiatives.
Gotcha. Okay. And I want to just make sure that. And what were some things that you had to prepare for when working with like an enterprise retailer in terms of like setting up to actually launch on their platform? So once the PO is placed and you're going to produce the products that they want, there's that process of actually having to set up to start working with them. Can you explain, what that looked like?
Yeah, so again, different retailers have different requirements, and so for instance, before launching with one of the retailers, I had to make sure that I was signed up for an EDI and a GS1, and some retailers don't require that, but that's a process, an onboarding process that I had to do in order to partner with that company.
And can you just share like briefly what that is, EDI and setting up?
Yeah, so I'm actually in the process of doing that now, because now the retailers require that. So I'm still learning it all. But so the GS1 is kind of like an official SKU number for your product. So you have to buy in bulk. And, this is just like a universal SKU number that they know that is attached to your brand, attached to this product. And it could just be used for many different retailers once you have that number. And for the EDI, it's, from my understanding, electronic tech thing that they that they use to submit POs, and it's a way for you guys to communicate electronically without emails getting lost and things like that. So you have to pay for a membership.
Gotcha. So there's also those costs that you have to consider as
The
well when
hidden
you
fees, yes, the hidden
pricing
fee.
your product. It's cost and time. So it's not just, oh, they place an order, I'm going to produce it and ship it to them. They have strict, guidelines on how to onboard and also
Yes.
how to ship to them, because it can't just be, you ship it however you want to. So last question being just like, when preparing to ship, what really are those things that you have to factor in?
Definitely making sure you read the brand partnership material. Again, each retailer is different, so they have shipping requirements. So it's making sure that you're labeling your product correctly, packaging it the way that they want it packaged, so they're receiving it the way that they want to, so they know how to unload and sell your product. Making sure that you're providing the correct things and making sure that you are fulfilling in the time frame and shipping in the time frame. Some retail partnerships I have, you have to let them know that you're complete and wait for authorization to ship. So you have to make sure that you're keeping that in mind and not waiting till the last minute, and just making sure that you're doing all the communication needed before shipping.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I could ask you so many more questions, but I want to get into the viewers' questions. So let me pick out some good ones. I've been seeing a lot in here. So first one from Crystal. I hope I'm saying that your name right. What was the back and forth like for the retailers that took a few months to place an order? So did you show new products or the same collection? So for the people who didn't place it, immediately, what was that back and forth like?
So what I learned going through the process is, even if you talk to your buyer, they have a boss. So you have to wait for authorization. So there's different chains of events in order for them to finally place a PO if they want to move forward. So it's a lot of conversation of, hey, the initial follow-up is, let's go through it again. Then it's, okay, this is great, let me sit on it and get back to you. Then it could be, okay, this is great, I'm interested in these styles, but let me get approval. Then you wait for the approval, then you go through the terms. So each follow-up could be a different conversation. I've never had to re-show, but I think that could be something that you might have to do if they say, hey, we really love your collection, but I realize we really need more of this category. Do you have it? Or are you interested in doing an exclusive? So the conversations can go in different ways, but usually they have to go through their own protocol of approvals and things like that. So
Yeah. And you are a rare case, because most of the time retailers don't buy same season they see you. A lot of times they like to follow a brand, that first season that they meet you, they'll say, okay, I want to keep watching you. And there are a lot of brands that, I've had to show 2 or 3 seasons to, retailer before they get picked up. So that's something I would like to point out, that you are a unicorn in this situation. And it's amazing to see, for sure. But don't get discouraged if that first collection that you show them is not the collection that they pick up. That's just something for all of you to know.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt you, but I've had feedback from a store that I really wanted to partner with, and they mentioned that they want to see the evolution. So they weren't all easy partnerships, but yeah, but that also gives you the encouragement to keep going, because obviously it's positive feedback they want to see, and then it pushes you to your to your creative, and to just see like, okay, how can I expand? So for instance, one retailer, they were interested, but they want to see how, I guess, my fine jewelry evolves, and how does that look, and how does a whole, if someone wants to buy a whole V.BELLAN fine jewelry collection, what does that look like? So it's also exciting, because you're like, okay, like, let me build on this. I didn't realize this one piece could be a whole collection. I just thought it was this little piece in a collection, but so don't get discouraged.
And I have a question that says, what's your minimum order quantity, and are there are there any best margins that you should be looking to have from a wholesale perspective?
So I only have a minimum quantity on the Folklore Connect platform for the smaller boutiques. Usually the larger retailers place a good amount. And for the markup, I don't know what it is for apparel, but for jewelry, it's usually, a 2.5 markup.
From wholesale to retail.
Yes.
Gotcha. 2.5x. So if your wholesale price is 100, that means that retailer is going to want to sell it for 250.
Yeah. And they also want you to match their price. So that's also something that I had to work through, because one of the retailers wanted my retail to be larger than what it was, so they are making what they want to make. So that was a decision I had to make, for myself, to say, okay, can I raise this price? How would that affect the customers that already love this product? So that's something to keep in mind too.
Okay. And then someone asked, should I have an MOQ per product, or for all products?
I think you should definitely have an idea for all products, what that is. And also I think it depends on who, what your production team requires, or your manufacturing company requires. Because I know some, depending on the categories that you do, for instance, for my jewelry, it's all handmade. So I have a little bit of wiggle room for quantities, but I know sometimes for handbags or shoes, your manufacturer wants you to place a minimum order of X amount in order for them to produce it. So I think it just depends on your category, I would say, and your production team, and what they want to do, or what they feel comfortable doing, and what makes sense for you.
That's very important. You need to, before you get into wholesale, have a reliable supply chain set up. You need to have who your, what production facility that they're using, have tested them, because you don't want to get the order and then have to go find that, because that will delay the process. So you need to have your, samples made from that manufacturers, who, and knowing what their minimums are, so that you can then determine what the minimums you have to give to the retailer is. So that's one thing to note as well. Let's see. Did they require you to be in a certain number of smaller boutiques before taking on your brand?
No, and honestly, that was my fear. Wanting to expand into wholesale, I was thinking like, oh, I don't have any stores, and I'm a small brand, and I don't have that many followers, and I'm still new. Will they give me a chance? And I just honestly had luck, or it was, I didn't have any former retailers before launching with these retailers. They, I guess, saw value in the brand, and they wanted to help the brand grow. And honestly, the folklore, thank you to the folklore. And and honestly, I didn't have any stores and I thought I would need. So I would say don't be discouraged if you don't have any smaller boutiques or any former retail partners. I think, let your brand speak for itself and opportunities will come.
Okay, well, we're at time. This is 45 minutes, right? Yes, okay. So we are at time, but would love for you to just round it out or close it out by just talking a little bit about your experience with just the Folklore Connect and, anything that you could share around like the support and like kind of things that, could help brands on their wholesale journey.
Yeah, honestly, the folklore has been amazing and has been a game changer for my business. And the partnership that you guys give and offer is amazing. I think you guys are the only sales platform that actually gives brands the opportunity to build their own relationships with the brands. Usually sales companies are the middleman, but you guys give us the opportunity of a platform, an opportunity of a one-on-one, and kind of like, hey, we connect you, flourish. And I think that's amazing. And when I do need support, you have an amazing team. There's Kiana, I don't know if you're there, and Alicia and Kensola. Everyone has been amazing. And when I do have a question and I do need help, they respond and help me. Cause I feel like with the folklore, we're in this together. So there's always someone. And I've reached out to you too. So
Awesome. Well, I'm really happy that we've been able to partner with you and that you've seen so much success and that you were able to share your story and hopefully help a lot of the brands that are on the call today. And so you want to tell everybody where they can find you, reach you?
Yes, you can follow V.BELLAN at V.BELLAN _. Also me, Vanessa Bellan _. And our website is www.vbellan.com. And if anybody has any questions, you can DM me and I'll get back to you.
Awesome. Yeah, because there's so many questions we didn't answer. And I want to thank everyone for joining today. Appreciate it. If you are not already a member of the Folklore, I know Christina dropped her email, Christina@thefolklore.com, but you can also apply directly on our website, thefolklore.com. So hope to see all of you at our next session. And again, have a great day, everyone, and thanks for joining.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.